Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at Perplexity, the AI search company.
Right, they've got some interesting plans.
Yeah, exactly. They're planning to launch their own browser. It's called Comet. And the CEO has been surprisingly, maybe refreshingly open about why.
Which is?
Tracking. Tracking what you do across the web, basically. We're digging into a TechCrunch article that details his comments.
Okay, so our mission today is to kind of unpack Perplexity's thinking here.
Yeah, what this tracking really means for, us, for users, and how it all fits into the bigger picture of online ads and privacy.
It's a crowded space, so the big question is, can a newer company like Perplexity actually pull this off? Being so open about collecting data, especially now.
That's what we're diving into. Let's get started.
So what really jumps out first is just how direct Perplexity's CEO, Aravind Srinivas, was about this. The TechCrunch piece mentions he was on the TBPN podcast, and he basically said, look, a key reason, maybe the key reason for building Comet is getting data beyond their own app.
Right, because he thinks the queries people make in the Perplexity app, especially if they're work-related, don't really give the full picture.
Exactly. It's a limited view, he argues. He wants to know more about, well, everything else.
And he was specific, wasn't he? Like knowing what you buy or hotels and restaurants you look up, that sort of general browsing?
Yes, precisely. That paints a much fuller picture, a more, let's say, comprehensive user profile.
Okay, building that profile. And here's the kicker for anyone who, uses the internet.
Yeah.
This data isn't just for making their AI better.
No, it's explicitly for selling ads. Hyper-personalized ads was the term used.
Hyper-personalized. That sounds intense. What would that actually look like for you when you're browsing?
Well, imagine their Discover feed. You might be scrolling and suddenly see recommendations for, I don't know, restaurants based on food blogs you read last week.
Or maybe products related to something you researched on a completely different site.
Exactly. Connecting those dots across your web activity. The idea is to serve ads that feel super relevant, almost like they read your mind.
It's definitely a bold strategy. Try to hit that point where an ad feels helpful, not creepy.
But it does sound familiar, doesn't it? This whole gathering lots of data for ads thing.
Oh, absolutely. The TechCrunch article makes the direct comparison to Google. I mean, Google's huge success is, you can't deny it, tied to tracking users through Chrome and Android.
It's a proven playbook, really. And it's not just Google. Think about Meta, Facebook, using their pixels to track you everywhere.
Right, even if you're not on Facebook or Instagram at that moment.
And even Apple, despite their big privacy focus, they still do some location tracking in default apps for advertising.
So Perplexity isn't exactly inventing this wheel. They're just maybe being more upfront about wanting to build it themselves.
Which leads to the really critical question, how will users react? Srinivas seems to think people will be okay with it.
Because the ads will be better, more relevant.
That's his bet. He thinks the relevance will outweigh the tracking concerns.
I'm not so sure. What do you think, given all the talk about privacy concerns these days?
It's definitely the crux of the issue. People do hate irrelevant ads, that's true. But there's also this growing unease, this awareness about just how much data is being vacuumed up.
Yeah, the article mentions that distrust of big tech tracking is pretty widespread now across the board politically, US, Europe.
Right, and the timing here is, well, let's call it interesting. Srinivas is being super open about this tracking plan right when the U.S. Department of Justice is suing Google over its dominance in search and advertising.
That DOJ lawsuit is huge. They're literally talking about potentially making Google sell off Chrome.
Exactly. The core allegation is that Google used its power, including Chrome, to create a monopoly.
And isn't it fascinating that both Perplexity and OpenAI have said, yeah, if Chrome's for sale, we'd be interested buyers?
It totally underscores how valuable owning a browser is perceived to be. It's like having a direct tap into user behavior for data and ads.
So owning the browser is key infrastructure for this model.
Definitely seems to be the thinking. But interestingly, Perplexity isn't just banking on Comet, their browser.
Oh, what else are they doing?
Well, the article mentions partnerships. They've got a deal with Motorola.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the Perplexity app will come pre-installed on the new Razr phones, and you can access it through Moto AI just by typing Ask Perplexity.
So getting onto the phone itself, bypassing the need for their own browser necessarily.
Right. And there was that Bloomberg report, which Srinivas kind of alluded to, about talks with Samsung for something similar.
Wow. Okay, so they're aiming for reach through hardware partnerships too. It's not just about getting you to download Comet.
Exactly. It's a multi-pronged approach. Browser, mobile partnerships, It all feeds into building that comprehensive user profile Srinivas wants.
Capturing user activity wherever it happens, desktop, mobile.
That seems to be the strategy. Create that holistic view, go beyond just search queries, and use it to power those hyper-personalized ads.
Okay, so let's sort of wrap this up. Perplexity's big play is to become a major ad player.
Yeah, by building these really detailed user profiles.
And their new browser, Comet, is a huge part of that, with this very open intention to track your online activity.
All in the name of delivering supposedly super relevant ads.
It definitely mirrors the strategies we've seen from the big tech companies.
But it's also happening right when people are more aware and regulators are more focused on this exact kind of tracking.
Which really leaves us with a big question for you, the listener, doesn't it?
It does. Considering how much we talk about data privacy, how much skepticism there is, how are people actually going to react to Perplexity being so blatant about tracking for ads?
Will that transparency actually build trust? Or will it just, freak people out even more?
And what does this tell us about where personalized advertising might be headed? It's a really fine line they're trying to walk, something to chew on.